So, what prompted you to run for re-election, knowing that you've been there 3 years and you've made some impact, you've seen some changes, and you got to be on the inside. So, what prompted you to run again?
Uh, it's still a lot more to do, you know. It's still a lot more to try to get past, and it's a lot of things we need to see through, and we need somebody in Lincoln that's going to fight for the community. Not to say there are others within our community that would do the job. I just feel like I'm already there, already understand the system, and, why not? We're not finished, and I can't give up on my community.
That's good. Man, that's amazing. That's amazing. Why should voters choose you for another term in office?
People should choose me, I would say, because I'm somebody that's going to fight for you. Like, I wake up every day, and my mind is on being a senator and representing North Omaha and trying to do the right thing to make sure that our people are taken care of. And I don't make promises. I won't say I promise you I'll do this. But what I will say is I'll fight for you and keep fighting for you.
That's good.
And be unapologetic about it.
Mm. So, what do you see as the problem with the lack of change in our community?
That's a good question. I would say the problem with the lack of change in our community is we're not united. We've been placed in a situation where we've kind of been divided, and what we think should be the solution is different depending on who you talk to. But the honest thing is, it's no solution except for, uniting as one and being able to collaborate and understand each other's perspective and putting our differences to the side. That's the biggest thing. I think a lot of times people get in these leadership positions or community positions and feel like they got the answers and you should just roll with me and don't go talk to this person or don't work with this person. And I'd be like, why? It don't make sense, because if we get into this to try to help our community or change our community, I should never look at you and say, Trent, I don't want to work with you. I can't work with you, and vice versa. We should be able to put our differences to the side, because that's what you see in other communities. They all don't like each other, but at the end of the day, when it comes to the betterment of the community, all that gets pushed to the side to advance the community. And I think that's what's holding us back, is the ability to unite as one for a single purpose. And that's what I hope I've tried to do every time. I'll sit with anybody. I'll meet with anybody. I don't have a problem, because if I ever have a problem with meeting somebody, then I need to check myself. And I'm not in this position to have an ego or to make it about Terrell when it's about the people that voted for me.
Good, man. This is some good stuff, bro. So, what would you think? What are some things that you want people to know, or should I say, what do you think people misconstrue about you? And you want to clear up, yeah.
I think sometimes people operate with assumptions, like I didn't think about something, but the reality is I think about everything. That's probably what keeps me up at night, why I don't get a lot of sleep, because I try to think about every angle. There's very few things or decisions I make in life where I don't think about all sides of it and the outcomes. And, sometimes, and I'm the type of person, I'm about trying to solve the problem. I can't get stuck in the problem itself. Let's figure out how to solve it. Yes, I understand the problem, but let's find a solution. I've just never been that way, because I think, and it's not a knock on people that think about the problem more, but for me it's, okay, this happened. My next thought is, what's the solution? It's not to dwell on the problem itself. Once I understand the problem, I'm trying to solve it.
Yeah.
So when I do something in the legislature and, sometimes people say, oh, this, or just make assumptions, I be like, you really don't know me, or kind of, and maybe that's me, it's the way I think. I think the biggest thing is people just misunderstanding that, I think about everything. Mm-hmm. And right, wrong, or indifferent, I've thought about it, and I thought about the outcome.
So, what does North Omaha mean to you?
What does North Omaha mean to me?
Yeah.
It's home. It's the place that made me into who I am today. It's, you know, a place that'll always have a special place in my heart, and, you know, I'm willing to do whatever I can to try to fight for it as much as possible.
That's good. You represent too, fine colors, man. I believe that. That's good. So, what are some things that you want to do next year if you're reelected?
It's really not a big change in direction necessarily. Like, economic equity and opportunity is my number one priority. Because my goal, one of the things I told myself is to be successful, my view of success for me is decreasing poverty in North Omaha. And that's what I want to do. So if I could do that, that's the biggest thing. But it's going to take, you know, continuing to be creative and bold and willing to, you know, go against the system essentially and say no. Like, we don't just need, like, because a lot of people get mad at me because they think I hate nonprofits or I'm against people having nonprofits or running them in North Omaha. And that's not totally true. I just think we got too many. Because I feel like the only way we're really going to change this is if we're creating economic progress. And for the past 30 years, most of the resources that have come to our community have been through nonprofits. What's been the result? Yeah, like, what's been the result?
We haven't seen much progress.
None at all.
Yeah.
It's not that. And when you say this, it's not to say that people don't do good things. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying we got to be real and honest. You could be doing a good job, but that don't make you. It's like somebody that show up to practice every day in a sport. You could be a good player, but you ain't a champion. It's a difference.
Yeah.
It's a difference between the Michael Jordans and the bench players. They good, but they ain't the champs.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to get us to be.
That's good. So, voting. What's so important about voting? Because a lot of our people really aren't interested in voting. We don't think that our votes matter. So, can you give us a little bit of detail about that?
That's the Jedi mind trick they want us to think, though, that our votes don't matter. Because people spend billions of dollars every year just so our people could think that our votes don't matter. And the importance of voting comes down to this. Like, if you're not registered to vote, you're not going to, if we don't have enough of our people registered to vote, it's a good chance we ain't going to have a jury of our peers.
That's good.
Just think about that.
That's deep.
And
That's deep.
how already negative the system is towards us. Just think about not having people in those seats that understands where they're coming from. It might be like, nah, I get what you just need that. But also just think about resources. We complain about, we don't got community spaces for our kids no more. That's because of politics. That's because the dollars aren't going to those type of programs like they used to anymore. Just think about when we was kids and, played at Miller Park and had the Sun Dogs.
Yeah. Sun Dogs kept us out of a lot of trouble. We looked forward to going to Sun Dogs.
Yeah, so it's just things like that. I think politics affect our lives a lot more than we think. Just think about the schools our kids go to and what they're being taught. That's because of politics.
So what would you say to people who just are hell-bent on not voting, or for those who can't vote?
To those that are hell-bent on not voting, I would just say, you got the right. It's your right, not to vote. I don't think we should force anybody to vote, but I would just say, make the decision best based on your understanding. Like, yes, I know, and I ain't ignorant to politics in general, and the black community has not necessarily, or politicians, I would say, lived up to the bill. You know, it's been a lot of false promises to the black community and black communities across the country that, you know, things are going to change. You know, we're going to solve poverty. We're going to do all these things. And it's not been the case. We got a war on drugs and mass incarceration.
So what would you say to the people who can't vote? Or if there's things that's holding them back, like felonies and all these stipulations, and for those who haven't registered, what would you say to those people?
I would say, you know, for those who haven't voted or don't want to vote, you know, you make the decision based on you and what you understand. I would tell you to vote. It's important, but that don't mean I'm gonna sit up here and force people to vote and just blindly vote. You know, I think sometimes we tell people to vote, but we don't explain why, or you know, that's the problem, because when we don't do that, and then you be like, oh, vote, like they had that campaign, vote or die. What did that really mean? Die, like, what is it, like, if I don't vote, I'm gonna die? So, I mean, I just think we gotta explain it more. And then in Nebraska, you can vote after you're 2 years out of prison or off of papers. So if you're a felon, you're not banned from voting in Nebraska. You just gotta wait 2 years. Either once you get out of prison, if you don't get on papers, or if you're on papers, you gotta wait 2 years and then you can vote.
I never knew that. I thought you just couldn't vote if you was a felon.
No.
So after 2 years of being released and off of probation or parole,
Yep.
you can vote?
Yeah.
That's some good information. It's people that have been out for a minute and they probably just wasn't interested.
I think it's that, and I think people that have been through the system really just don't want to deal with that side of the system no more, because it's like a lot of just mistrust and just like, nah, I ain't about to deal with those people. But, you know, you can if you want to.
Yeah. So it's a real question. Like you say, they spent millions of dollars for us to be convinced that our votes don't matter. So do our votes matter?
Yes, 100%. If our votes don't matter, you don't get people like myself in office that think about the community. If our votes didn't matter, you know, like they spending billions on misinformation and things like that to make us think we shouldn't care, or just doing things to just make us feel more and more hopeless as far as, you know, voting, and like, man, like this is not gonna work. It don't matter. Because then sometimes you get people in office and then they'll spend a bunch of money to try to persuade that person not to do something or to do something, which may negatively affect our community.
That's good.
So, I mean, our votes matter.